This is an interview on the 16th of January 2010 with Vincent Joseph Dalton, VX131616, V45711, Private, 39th Battalion, Headquarter Company, 1 Platoon, Signals. First of all, Vince, I believe you come from the country. Tell us where you were born and where you lived.
I was born at Port Fairy, and I worked on the farm, and that was 11 miles out of Port Fairy, and from there I joined the army.
Tell us about your family. Did you have a big family?
Yeah, I forget how many.
7 brothers?
7 boys and 3 girls.
And later on, did they have a farm up at Moihu out of Wangaratta?
Yeah.
And what was your life like then? What did you do on the farm?
Milk cows.
How many cows?
Oh, I forget.
Every day?
Every day, yeah. Twice a day. Morning and evening.
Did you enjoy living on the farm?
Well, I had no alternative.
That was your job?
Yeah.
When you were probably about 18, you met your girlfriend, Margaret.
What's that?
When you met your girlfriend, Margaret.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did you meet her?
At a dance.
And about this time, you joined the army. Did you volunteer to join the army?
Yeah.
And whereabouts was that?
Wangaratta.
And what battalion did you go into?
59th. That was the original battalion I was in.
And later on, you transferred across to the 39th Battalion.
Yes.
And you went to Darley?
Yeah.
Do you remember being camped there?
Yeah.
And what company did they put you in the 39th?
Silver and SIGs.
And why did they put you in the SIGs?
Because I knew Morse code.
Did you learn that as a boy?
Yeah.
Was it one of your hobbies?
Yeah.
So you never did any other training with rifle or any other type of training?
Oh, just basic training.
About this time in 1941, the 39th Battalion was heading to New Guinea. Were you looking forward to going overseas?
Oh, I don't remember.
And all the troops went up to Sydney.
Yeah, embarked from Sydney.
Yes. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What was it like?
We didn't know what the hell was going on.
What was the atmosphere like? What was atmosphere like?
But expectations, I suppose. Didn't know what the hell was going on.
Were you excited?
No, just complacent.
You just did what you were told?
Yeah.
Did you remember the trip across on the Aquitania?
The what?
The boat. Do you remember going on the boat across to New Guinea?
Yeah.
What was that like? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, it was an experience anyway.
Was it a big ship?
Oh yes, full funnel.
And were there a lot of troops on it?
Oh yes, but Aquitania was 43,000 tonne, I think. It was a big ship.
It took about, I think, about 4 or 5 days to make the journey.
Yeah,
Do you remember landing in Port Moresby?
yeah.
What do you remember?
You got me there.
And after you were unloaded from the boat, where did you go?
Marched for 7 miles out to Port at the aerodrome.
And what was it like when you got there?
Just bush.
No camping facilities?
No, we had to make that ourselves.
And what did you do? Pitch tents or?
Pitch tents.
Yes. And you were camped at the 7 Mile with headquarter company?
Yeah.
And what did you do each day?
Line of communications. Okay, we kept in touch with the companies by phone initially, because we didn't have radio. Initially we were on the telephone.
And
we didn't have radio until I think.
so did you learn about what was happening around Port Moresby through contact on the phone?
No.
While you were there, do you remember when the bombing raid started?
Yeah, I do.
And how did you respond?
Those frightened the hell out of us.
And how often were the bombing raids?
Initially at about every 3 days. They didn't have far to travel because they had one rebel that was in Papua New Guinea or New Britain. We were Papua New Guinea. We weren't Papua New Guinea.
No.
But rebel, it was in New Britain.
Yeah.
And chaps had taken rebel. And they only had an hour's flying time, so they give us help.
Tell us about your intelligence section where you had your telephone set up. Was it in a tent or a hut?
In a tent.
And how many men were in there working with you?
Mainly on my own.
And you do that every day?
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of entertainment while you were there in Port Moresby?
No.
Did you get letters from home?
Yeah.
And who did you get your letters from?
From parents and from Margaret.
And what did you write home about?
What you were allowed to write. What you were allowed to write.
Do you remember what your meals were like?
Yeah. Bully beef and biscuits.
And that was it?
And black rice stew.
Did you ever get a bottle of beer?
No. It's something that would never pass my lips was the beer. It was a really dry argument.
And what were the conditions like? Was it hot?
Yeah. Very hot. Particularly when you come from the southern states of Australia. Get in. You see, the average temperature up there was something like 40 degrees. And we went from, what shall I say, from southern states temperatures to about 40 degrees, which is a big change.
Were there many natives around Port Moresby at that time? Did you see a lot of natives?
Oh, yeah.
Did they come around your camp?
Yeah. We used to give them a hand out occasionally.
And in food or?
Food.
Food.
Yeah.
You'd trade with them. You'd give them a bit of food and...
Yeah. Yeah.
They'd maybe... Did they give you food back? Fruit or anything like that?
No.
Do you remember when the ship was bombed in the harbour there at Port Moresby?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
What can you tell us about it?
Mac Dewey. I wasn't on the SIGs had we covered it, but vaguely I just remember the old Mac Dewey. She took the brunt of the Japanese bombing raid.
Did you leave the camp there and did you travel around or did you just stay at the 7 Mile?
Stabilised.
As the Japanese were coming closer...
The closest they got was Kokoda.
The 39th was then getting ready.
We were there to stop them.
And you had orders to march up the track to Kokoda. Do you remember marching up the track?
Yeah, I do.
What was it like?
Bloody awful. Excuse the expression.
Did you have a heavy pack?
Yeah.
And what were the conditions like? Did you get rain?
Rain 24 hours, 12 hours and 24.
And how did you cope?
We just coped.
How long did it take you to march from Port Moresby up to Kokoda?
I don't remember, but I think it was about 7 days.
And when you got there, what was your job?
Signals.
Yes.
Communications.
So what did you actually do? Did you have to set up a radio?
No, we didn't have radio for a start. So all telephone.
Telephone.
Yeah.
And was it run by a battery?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know.
Did you have a lot of equipment to carry?
Yeah, fair amount.
Did the Fuzzy Wuzzies help you carry your equipment?
Yeah. We used them up where we could.
When you were at Kokoda, did you actually see any Japanese?
I personally didn't.
Headquarter company was set back or protected?
Oh, we were back for communications.
Yes.
And, we didn't actually do any fighting. We were just there just to come to keep in communication.
With all the other companies?
Yeah.
And did you carry a rifle?
Yeah.
And did you...
It was carried there.
Did you ever have to use it?
No.
Did you hear the noise from the battles going on around Kokoda at the time?
No. We were always in the completely unaware.
And what were your meals like when you were on the track?
Meals, bully beef and biscuits.
The 39th was then pushed back to Isharava. Do you remember the battle there at Isharava?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
I was in communications. And you got every day you get a bulletin and you transmitted that
So where would the bulletin come from?
from Army headquarters.
In Port Moresby.
Yeah.
And then you would write it up, would you? Did you have to write it up
Yeah.
by hand?
Yeah.
And then what would happen to the message? Would you then get a runner to take it to the different companies?
We'd well, for a start off, we were on telephone, and what they did with it was that the news, they'd take it to the commanding officer, and he'd then relay it onto the companies.
And who was your commanding officer at that time?
Colonel Allen.
And was he respected by the men?
Yes, very well respected.
He was killed there at Kokoda, wasn't he? Colonel Owen. And then you had Colonel Honour.
I don't think he wasn't killed in the 39th. I think he went into second, I think it was.
Yes, that'd be Colonel Honour.
And that was when he got killed.
Do you remember who your sergeant was?
Yeah. Draper. Sergeant Draper.
And were you close? Were the men close to one another?
No. No.
You just did your own jobs?
Yeah.
Coming out of Isharava, when you were coming back down towards Port Moresby, do you remember walking back along the track?
Yeah.
And what was it like?
I was relieved to get out of the front line.
And what happened to you when you were walking back? I believe you had a fall.
Yeah.
What happened?
Fell over a cliff.
And what happened to you?
I got a puncture in the leg and it turned septic.
Yes. So you walked on for a few more days?
I was hospitalised from there.
Yes. And the last couple of day and a half you had to be stretchered.
Oh, yes.
And you ended up at the 17-mile hospital.
Yeah.
So while you're in the 17-mile hospital and you'd been convalescing, they came in and asked you what you were in civilian life. What did you say?
I was a baker.
And they said?
What the bloody hell are you doing in infantry?
And so you were then, after you were well enough, you were transferred?
Yeah.
Yes. And where did you go?
To Port Moresby, to Anabata.
In what unit?
Field Bakeries. 13th Field Bakeries.
And what was your job there?
general hand.
And a dough maker?
A bit of dough making and general baking.
How many loaves a day did you do for the...
Oh, that's a bit hard to answer.
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of troops to feed.
About 300.
Yeah.
How many bakers were there working?
Oh, I don't remember.
Do you remember who your best mate was then? Vin Duffy.
No.
No, was it Vin Duffy?
Oh, it was one of them anyway.
Yes. Do you remember much about the time you spent there at the field bakery? Were you in a tent?
Wait a minute. I was in the school.
And what was that like?
The school, it was, well, there was no pupils.
It was the schoolhouse, was it?
No, I was in the veranda, which was a part of the club, part of the establishment.
And you slept on the veranda.
Yeah,
Did you work hard?
of course I did. There was no easy jobs in the bakery.
It would have been pretty hot.
Yeah.
What did you do to have a bit of fun? Did you ever
Didn't
go?
have any.
You never went swimming?
No. I never saw a picture show.
Must have been hard work.
It was.
What did you do when you finished work for the day?
Went to bed.
Did you write letters home?
Oh, well, yeah.
Play cards? Did you play cards?
No. No. Done a bit of writing, and it's about all. You're buggered anyway from working in the bakehouse.
And you stayed there as working in the bakehouse until the war ended.
Yeah.
How did you feel it when you found out the war had ended?
Hooray.
And you knew you were going home?
That was come after. You got to had to get organised.
Pack everything up and...
Yeah. Like in the bakery, baking, these troops still had to eat, so we still had to work.
And you stayed there until 1946?
46, yeah.
And by the time you left Port Moresby, there wouldn't have been that many troops left.
Oh, yeah, well, the Yanks took over.
Do you remember the Yanks?
Yeah.
And what did you think of them?
Oh, I reckon they were all right.
And what did you think about the Fuzzy Wuzzies?
Worth their weight in gold. We used to use them in the bakehouse.
Oh, yes. What sort of jobs would they do?
They were baked just as much as we did.
You taught them?
Yeah.
Did you get friendly with them?
Oh, yeah. Tabata.
Did you ever share a cigarette?
Yeah. They addressed you as Tabata.
And what did you call them?
Very often we knew their Christian name.
You called them by their name?
Yeah.
You would have got quite friendly with them.
Yeah. Yes, we were quite friendly. They were friendly race.
Do you remember coming back to Australia?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
I'm not sure where we landed. I think it was in Brisbane. Or was it Townsville? I'm not sure.
And you got the train back down south?
Yeah. We come to Darley. I was discharged from Darley.
Discharged from Darley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you come home and get married?
Yeah.
And what was it like coming home?
Rather a backhanded question. A relief, at any rate.
And your family would have been very happy.
Well, I didn't have a family then.
Your parents or your brothers and sisters?
Oh, well, yeah.
And you went on with your life after that, after being discharged from the army,
Mm-hmm.
and you went into baking again.
Yeah. I was at McAlpin's. And
as a dough maker, making the
just
dough.
general hand.
And how long were you there for?
Oh, I forget.
And then you decided to get your own bakery.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Where was it?
Springhurst.
Springhurst. And that's up near Wangaratta. And you would have been married at this time?
Yeah, I was married then.
And did your wife Margaret work with you in the bakery?
Yeah.
And what did she do?
Scale.
That's weigh all the loaves.
Yeah.
All the dough ready to bake.
Yeah.
Was it hard work?
Yeah.
And what time would you be up every day?
Oh, God, I forget now. Early.
What do you think is important for the younger generation of today to remember about the campaign in New Guinea? That you did a good job.
What's that?
That you did a good job.
Yeah.
And the young ones should be grateful.
What's that?
The younger generation has a lot to be grateful for.
Do what you're told when you're told.
Did you enjoy your time in the army?
Oh, yeah. It had its ups and downs.
Well, Vince, I've really enjoyed chatting to you. And on behalf of the 39th Battalion Association Historical Subcommittee, we'd like to thank you very much for your time and this interview.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.